Digital photography, composition. Our objective is to apply the rule of thirds. Now, the rule of thirds has been around since ancient Greece, and it's worked well in paintings. And you might have noticed that whenever you position something off center, it is more effective in a photo. But we have a common practice as beginners, photographers, to place the subject matter right dead in the center. This is actually pretty boring. According to the rule of thirds, there are particular sweet spots for our subject. And what we're going to do is imagining drawing 4 lines across our photo. 2 of them go horizontally, 2 will go vertically. And they're evenly spaced. It's kind of think of a tic-tac-toe. Where the points and where the lines intersect is our sweet spots. When we're composing those themes, scenes or photos, we want the subject matter to line up where those scenes are, those lines are crossing. Let's take a look at an example. Here we have this bird, and we have the 2 lines that are vertical, and they're even thirds. We have 2 horizontal, and they're in even thirds. The star of the show is right here, is this bird, and the eye of the bird is sitting here in one of the sweet spots. This is called the rule of thirds. Over here we have this puppy. Now the puppy, the sweet spot is right about here. The star of the show is right here, and it's just about on that intersection. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be close. But we have the 2 horizontal lines and the 2 vertical lines. They're evenly spaced, breaking the image into thirds, hence the rule of thirds. And so this is in this position. Here we have a flower, and the star of the show is down here near the next intersection or sweet spot. And so our rule of thirds, dividing into thirds. Many cameras have a setting in which we can turn on our rule of third guidelines on our camera. They won't print out, they'll just be in your viewfinder. So the rule of thirds is basically this is drawing the eye to this sweet spot. 41% of the users or viewers focus here first, and then 20% of our viewers focus on the second one over here in the upper right, and 25% look down here in the lower left, and last but not least is 14% down the lower right. So most of the time we're trying to get these 2 types of views, or possibly the third one. And you'll see that if we put it right in the center, the sweet spot, which is not the sweet spot, but if we put the subject matter right in the center, it's boring. And that's what default beginning photographers do. Now, so we can either place that subject matter right in the sweet spot, or if we're shooting a landscape, our horizon, we don't want to be in the middle. We want to provide the horizon either on the lower half of the photo or in the upper half of the photo. So let's take a look. Here's a horizon, and the lines of the rules of thirds are drawn, and our horizon goes right across the lower line of our rule of thirds. Now in this case, what's ever in our top of a horizon, it has to be more appealing, in this case the clouds, than in this bottom part, which is the field. So whatever's more appealing gets 2/3, and less appealing gets 1/3. Here's another example. Here the foreground is more appealing than the sky, so we'll place the horizon on the top of the 2 lines. And so it doesn't have to be perfect, but we're trying to get that not across the middle. That's not where we want it. Now there are a few exceptions to the rules. There are exceptions when we have things that are a mirrored look, like maybe a mountain lake, in which that we want the sky and the water to have a perfect mirrored image. We also in portraits treat the rule of thumbs or the rule of thirds as a separate case. And so in portraits of people or pets, the subject is horizontally centered with the eyes on the upper line. Here we have the eyes are in the upper line and it's centered right down the middle. Okay, so he's an exception like a portrait. Here we have a mirrored lake type thing and we have the horizon right on the center line then. And we also put the center of the body of the water equally left and right. So there are some exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, we want the subject matter to be on the sweet spots, one of the 4 sweet spots, or we want the horizon to be on either horizontal line. So this is the rule of thirds. It's been around since ancient Greece.